Yeah, it says recording live.
Okay.
Yes, so let's get on with the show. We're at the Nordic Innovation House, and can we have an applause? Welcome so much to this fireside chat. It's me, Katja, and Lars. And Katja, would you tell us about Nordic Innovation House?
Yeah, so on my behalf, welcome to the Nordic Innovation House. I work here assisting the community manager, and this is basically a project between the Nordic countries. We have at the moment 150 companies or somewhere around there as our members. Most of them have this virtual office contract, so they come and go. They're kind of still in the Nordics, but they want to be here. And then some of them have permanent desks. So basically we provide this soft landing space to Silicon Valley so that the companies, especially tech startups from Nordics, have a gateway to Silicon Valley, and we help them to get acquainted with the ecosystem here.
How many companies do you have in it?
Well, I think it's like 152 might be the accurate number at the moment.
Yeah, and you're running a lot of activities. How many activities do you do under a year?
Well, we host a variety of events, like this event tonight, and we have bigger parties, we have launch parties, we have just like member parties, we have member breakfasts. Today we had these office hours with one bank that came here and talked about what it is like to open a bank account in the US, which is quite a different story from the Nordic countries.
Yeah. So how does it work if someone are interested to join you?
Well, we are serving kind of a niche area in all these co-working space providers. So we only take Nordic startups, so they have to be based in one of the Nordic countries, and then they have to be somehow working in the tech area. But basically, you contact us, and we see what you're all about, and we welcome you in, basically, if you have what it takes to come to Silicon Valley.
152 today. Are there room for more companies?
Well, actually, we've just been calculating that we're kind of full with the permanent desks, so we have another office space just a couple of doors down, and this summer it's going to be completely booked. And so we still have room for these virtual office members, because those people come and go. So at the moment we have quite a full house, because we are hosting this Think Accelerator program, which is for Swedish and Norwegian companies at the moment, but it's opening up to Finnish companies as well. So there's this accelerator program going on for 4 weeks now, so the house is full with those people. But usually we do still have room for more members.
All right, thank you very much, Katja.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So everybody, we're an international group as well today. We have some really exciting, brilliant minds and companies.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's welcome up the first guest, Fyodor Chimnikov. Welcome, Fyodor.
Hello, Lars. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Fireside chat is an exciting thing. Have you done some fireside chats before, Fyodor?
Actually, I can't remember it really now.
Okay, all right. Well, that's perfect. I did a little bit research about it, and I found out that Theodore Roosevelt. It comes from there. He started between the Big Depression, 33 to 45. He started this phenomenon with fireside chats, where he addressed the Americans to calm them practically in the Depression with 30 specific radio shows, and that was fireside chats. So I guess this is one way to address everyone out there with really great companies.
Terrific. Yeah, I like the format, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and also today it's about the Nordic Impact Week, which is going to take place in September. And the Nordic Impact Week is a meeting place. We want to create the space for valuable strangers to meet. And it's around SoCap, which is one of the biggest events for social innovation and sustainable city development. And Kevin Jones, the founder, he says it's the intersection between money and meaning, giving and investing, and that's where we are. And coming into what you're doing, Fyodor, tell us about Institute for Evolutionary Leadership.
Sure. Yeah, we're pretty much playing in that field, in the intersection of money and meaning. We're a social enterprise ourselves, and we develop and support leaders who redesign the world for the better. So we basically take leadership development approach, and we do participatory process design and do some consulting and coaching as well. Basically the premise that we are grounding our business in is that most leadership programs today teach leaders how to be effective in the current cultures and institutions. It's exactly the cultures and institutions that don't work very well for the people on the planet, right? So, and then we try to educate leaders to be more effective in those cultures and institutions, and we expect them to be social innovators. That's kind of paradox, right? Mm-hmm. So, my co-founder, Manuel Manga, who've been in the field of leadership development for about 40 years, about 20 years ago came to that realization, and he put a stake in the ground and said, hey, let's just create this methodology that's, and this theory that helps leaders be conscious about cultures and institutions that influence them, that shape their actions, and empower them with tools to redesign these cultures and institutions. That's how the whole idea of evolutionary leadership came about. And before I met my co-founder, I was playing in the field of social innovation, participatory process, and we decided to blend it with, to open it up for different schools of thought. So we now are using his model, that is competences-based model, to open it up for different social technologies that are emerging every day all around the world, and primarily in the field where there are some complex projects, international development, multinationals like World Dutch Shell scenario planning, all this kind of stuff. The thing is that today, when the world is changing very fast, and the level of interconnectedness is just so much more obvious than at any point in history, every single startup needs that kind of technology, not just like Royal Dutch Shell, not just World Bank or UNDP, etc. So we're bringing this kind of technologies to different individual actors so they can benefit from them, and the entire world can benefit from them too.
If you would describe the need for leadership today, if you will point out the two most important things, what would that be?
Well, people need to think systemically. They need to design solutions. They need to think systemically, and to think about what they design, right? Because most of the time we design things, design companies, design organizations, design organizational cultures, design products and services, and design industries unconsciously. So we really are aware of certain very superficial things. We don't know the consequences of what we design. And so I think today leaders desperately need to really get into the core of how to design things that will be contributing to a better future, rather than just some kind of future we don't know what kind of future we're designing. And apparently when we actually face this future, when it's coming towards us, it's not the future we want. So as a colleague of mine, Oja Sharma from MIT, putting that, we collectively produce results that nobody wants. And the reason for that, as we think, is because we're not conscious enough about how we design what we design. So we're bringing different techniques and technologies for people to become conscious designers of our social systems, in our relationships, in our organizations, and the world.
So what we design designs us back.
Oh yeah, right. So that's one of the principles of ontological design that we use. It's one of the 7 competencies that we teach. And ontological design was developed in the 80s, in the 1980s by Terry Winograd from Stanford and Fernando Flores from UC Berkeley. based on Heidegger's ontology and Searle's philosophy and language, and Maturana's Chilean biologist, Humberto Maturana's biology of cognition. So it's a very comprehensive theory of design that that argues that we are all designers by nature. So as I said, we are all designing our social realities whenever we're conscious about that or not, and that is a reality is design us. So we design a city, then we live in it. It designs our visual experiences. It designs our commute. It designs, our education of our children, and then it designs the way we think, which leads to us contributing to reinforcing the same design that we started creating. We're doing it together with others, right? But it's really a feedback loop. It's like the box. We cannot see beyond the box. I'll tell a story. Another friend of mine from Pittsburgh University, Nagaraj Shivasubramaniam, told me one day about Indian social entrepreneurs.
What was his name again?
Nagaraj Shivasubramaniam. Yeah, he is a very good guy. So he works with social entrepreneurs in India, like in the very remote, poor areas. And one day they asked kids at school. So they asked them to imagine they had no constraints to build the future they want and to become whatever they want. So when they asked them, what would you like to become if you have no constraints? Everything is just working towards you, like to support you. And the overwhelmingly popular answers were policeman or teacher. So they couldn't imagine anything but policeman or teacher because of the constraints of their experiences, right? So, and if we think that we're better in the Silicon Valley, for example, that we are designing like from the highest possibility of the future, well, probably that's not that true, right? So probably we need some techniques, and actually like an intention in the first place, and then some tools and techniques. How can we become aware of the boundaries of our box? How can we think systemically and a little bit farther away into the future and start collaborating to design systems that work for everybody? So that's what it is.
So how should we design the Nordic Impact Week?
Right, so you're asking about specific events that we're conspiring.
Yeah, we have discussed a little bit, but what's the ideas that we have?
Right.
Explain a little bit about that.
Absolutely, yeah. So last year it was a very good Nordic Impact Week with what we called it Oakland Day. So my organization hosted Nordics in Oakland, so we showcased Oakland innovation ecosystem. And then we presented what we do around design and leadership. And this year, Lars and Bertola and others really want us to help them design participatory engagements and trainings for people to, first of all, acquire the skills and technologies, at least some basic technologies, and then also we're going to have an epic leadership day on Monday. I think, September 10th, I guess, something like that. Something around that.
Monday the 12th?
12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The 12th, it is definitely Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a participatory engagement for about 150 to 200 people. So if it works as we plan it. For folks who are coming to participate in the Nordic Impact Week, which means, of course, Nordic folks, Silicon Valley folks, and from other areas of the United States, probably. We have Chinese delegations that we're working with to, bring them there as well. And hopefully, depending on what you guys do with the Africa conference, probably some folks from Africa as well. And it will be a day designed with our social technologies in mind. So it will not be a day of training, but it will be a day where we actually use our technologies in practice to create a space where people can not only exchange ideas and experience, but can also observe their limitations and blind spots, and become a little bit more intentional about what they design, and generate certain breakthroughs that we are going to document and share with everybody outside of the room as well.
Yeah.
So.
And also we're planning 3 special days before the week starts. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right, yeah, absolutely. That will be the training. So basically, the Leadership Day is a participatory event for how can we design sustainable cities for a more just, sustainable, flourishing world, right?
Yeah.
How can we design cities for just, sustainable, flourishing world, right? But the 3 day before that is a training, and there will be certain events in parallel. The training is primarily for those who are really serious about getting a sense of what these technologies are about. Not just experience them in action on Monday, but just getting a little bit behind the scenes and seeing what these technologies are and how they can go take them back to their organizations and communities and countries and really apply themselves, right? And we expect a group of about 20 to 30 people. Primarily California, so primarily our core community. So we are going to organize this training primarily for our folks who really want to dive deeper, and then we will also welcome Nordic folks who would like to come a little bit earlier before that week and go through this training with us.
Thank you. We the Nordics are welcome. Thank you. So, final words. Why should anyone come and join the leadership training?
If what I said about the design and leadership challenges we're facing today makes sense to you, you definitely would benefit from that. Again, so it would be, so one way is to just come to the leadership day and then see for yourself how it works. And then if you want to have this training, you can pay us to come to your country, or you can pay for another ticket to come to us again. But if you really want to, if you already get it, if you want to take the opportunity to do it all within like 4 days, here is a great opportunity for you. Again, so the core community will already have it here, and we will be designing this training for the core community and just opening it up for anyone who wants to come a little bit early and participate to join us.
All right, fantastic. We're also planning a possible idea about the hackathon in the middle of the week, and we will come back with that. So with that, a big hand for Theodor. Thank you. And thank you. That was the leadership section we covered. So with that, I would like to invite Ville Vanhala. And here we have Hey, and welcome, Ville.
Thank you,
To this fireside chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a good week.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been here in the States now for one and a half years. Originally came to do my MBA here. I'm from Finland. The reason why I'm here is that I've been doing sales almost all of my life, and then I was thinking that one day I want to be in the States because all the people here are better than me in sales. So I want to be surrounded by people who are better than me, so I can develop myself. And then I graduated last August from the school, and at that time we were developing this networking tool for events in Finland. And I was thinking that should I go back home? I had a job opportunities in Singapore, but then at that point Microsoft decided to buy our product. So then we had a reference, and we decided to stay here and see where we can take the tool. So I'm here to connect people at the moment.
But you're from Finland, right?
Yes.
But you also had an international journey.
Yes. So I've been studying in 5 different countries and working in 6 different countries. So.
Yeah. And now there's a fire in the house. That was a joke, okay? Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. I've been all around the place. That's amazing experience to be able to meet a lot of different kind of people from different cultures, and it also helps to communicate your messaging depending on what kind of people you are talking with.
Yeah. Tell us more about Brella. What is it?
Yeah, so it's a networking tool for events. There's a huge problem all around the world. There's 5 million events, and networking is always inefficient. Especially in the events where more than 100 people, and especially where thousands of people. So usually you go to an event, you have a certain agenda, you want to find certain kind of people, but then you wander around, and it's usually based on pure luck that are you going to meet the right person there? It's usually impossible. So we have developed a system which is basically asking, so we are collaborating with the event organizers, and then we're providing this to the event organizer is providing this to attendees, and it's asking all the attendees what are they searching at the event and what are they offering. And based on this information, we can matchmake them with other attendees, and everybody will see a list that, hey, these are the people you should meet, and you can more interestingly book your meetings through our system. So when you come to the event, you know already who you meet, and then your meetings, you will save a lot of time, your meetings will be higher quality, you most likely make more deals out of it and more partnerships, and you will be happy and you come back again to the event, and the event organizer will be happy as well.
So what's the case with Brella? I mean, there's a lot of similar technologies there.
Yeah, there is, especially here in the States, but none of them are basically recommended at who you should meet. They are tools which are showing you that, hey, these are the other attendees at the event, but how can you tell that are they the right people for you? None of them are doing that. We are doing this, and that's how we are separating us, differentiating us from the competitors at the moment.
Okay, so going back to what Fiora said, what you designs us back. So you have designed a very good matchmaking tool.
Yes.
But what are the difference? How do you? What kind of are you using in the background to make those choices, and how to do the matchmaking? If you would describe that.
Yeah. So of course we are collaborating with LinkedIn, so we get some information from there, but then it's up to all the attendees that they can easily, using 1 minute, type in what are they searching, what are they offering, and that's basically the information what we need to matchmake them with other attendees.
And if you describe, what stage are you now? You're here now?
Yeah.
You're a startup, or what do you consider yourself?
Yeah, this company is founded actually only 1 year ago, and 3-4 months ago we had only customers in Finland, but now within the past 4 months we have expanded to 10 different countries, and now we have also some good traction here in the States, so we've been able to attract the investors. Now they are actually willing to talk to us, before they weren't. So now it's the States that we are getting some fundings in and trying to put some gas into the car and try faster.
Cool. Okay, and we're also working on that. Brella would be a tech partner, and everyone coming here for the Nordic Impact Week will be designed in a good way that will design them back, and it will achieve some results.
Yeah, definitely, because like obviously people are spending their time and also a lot of money that they come here, so obviously they want to meet the right people, so we can make it happen.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much, Ville from Brella. Thank you. Okay, so matchmaking is obviously very important today, and LinkedIn, I don't know how many of you are using LinkedIn? Almost everyone. Yeah, everyone, I think. Okay, so all right, with that I would like to welcome Roger Royce up in the chair. Welcome, Roger. Thank you. Welcome to our fireside chat.
Oh, good to be here.
At the Nordic Innovation House.
It's quite a house it is.
Have you been there before?
No, I haven't. It's a surprise because it's right downtown Palo Alto, the
And you-
center of the universe.
All right, I'm really glad we put up this fireside chat so you have an opportunity to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? So I run a law firm. I'm the founder of the Royce Law Firm. We're a business, corporate, and tax firm with offices in Menlo Park, right down the road, next to Facebook, San Francisco and Los Angeles. And we're 24 lawyers now. We're general business law. We primarily service the technology startup community. About half of our clients are from other countries coming into the United States.
Yeah.
And we're full service, corporate securities, tax, technology, employment, litigation, estate planning, everything a startup would need.
Mm-hmm. So what's the case for Nordic companies coming out here? I mean,
What's the case?
The case, the important thing for companies from Nordic coming out here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a right way to enter this market, whether the companies are from anywhere in the world coming. And the interesting thing about this valley, as you all know, is that it's very international, right? It's like the United Nations walking around Palo Alto. And the reason why is because this is where the creme de la creme come. This is where you come if you've got a really good, successful idea someplace else. You'll come to Silicon Valley sometimes for money. A lot of venture capital. 1/3 of all the venture capital in the country is right down the road. The markets, the biggest technology companies in the world are headquartered in this area.
Yeah.
So it's a great place for market, and it's a great place for talent, because we're surrounded by great universities, and it attracts really smart people from all over. So that's the case for any company coming here. This is where I think you really want to be if you're going to launch a technology company into the United States market.
There's a lot of discussion now that the housing prices are going through the roof. So everybody want to be a unicorn. The market are overvalued. It's a bubble. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that all the time. Certainly, housing prices are way too high. You know, I heard the other day that a recent poll says that 1/3 of the people in San Francisco would like to go live someplace else.
Yeah.
You know, that's a bad thing. That's a bad number, right?
Yeah.
And it's because of the housing prices.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. California has done a terrible job about planning for its expansion. Northern California, anyway. It's mostly a political problem. We also have, I'll just warn you, especially being from another country, we have quite the regulatory and tax environment here. As a tax lawyer, I spend as much time counseling companies out of this place as I do counseling companies into this place. And to counsel them out, it's usually for one reason. It's because of the confiscatory tax rates in the United States and especially California. So it's a big problem. And eventually we'll get a Congress and a president that can work together, and a state legislature that's a little bit more realistic, and we'll straighten those problems out. But those are the challenges that any company that comes to California has to face.
There's also a lot of debate or discussion, obviously in the Nordics, that the first one you should talk to is a lawyer.
Well, so I happen to have a book that every entrepreneur should read. Sheridan's heard of this before. It's called Dead on Arrival: How to Avoid the Legal Mistakes That Could Kill Your Startup. And it's a summary of all the legal issues that any startup company really wants to be aware of. These are, and I just go through my 30 years of experience working with legal issues for startups, because it's always the same. You know, the same issues always come up. People always make the same mistakes. And most of them we can fix. Some of them are going to cost you in valuation, either when you get financed or when you sell. Others of them are just dead on arrival type mistakes, and you might as well just bury it and start over. So it's really important to know these things going into it, because just imagine, I tell people, just imagine how hard it is for you to do what you're doing already. Just forget about the legal stuff. To come up with a new novel idea, to launch it, to get traction, to get into the market before somebody else figures it out and beats you there, and to be successful. Just imagine how hard that is already, and how heartbreaking it would be if that whole thing, if you were successful in the business model and it fell apart because you didn't have good legal bones. So I advise everybody to buy this book. Or if you send me an email, I'll send you an e-copy. But it's good stuff. It's questions to ask your lawyer, questions that you might want to, that your lawyer should probably know about, that they might not tell you.
So read the book.
Yes, read the book. That's my high-level advice.
Okay, but it's always hard to predict. No one can really predict the future and so on. But what do you foresee the future of Silicon Valley?
The future of Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Wow. In terms of technologies, I remember a time when everything here was chips. I'm old, so I remember stuff. And it was chips, and it was hardware, and then software, and then it was software. You're nodding your head. I think the future in this valley is always sort of defined by the latest, greatest, newest technologies. And social media, I think, is always going to have a place. Like the application you're building, there are lots of people trying to do that, you know, and someone's going to figure it out. And there'll always be a place for those sorts of social applications. But I'm really excited about AR, VR, because there's been such big advances recently about artificial intelligence. It's finally, you know, come along to where I'm all of a sudden seeing lots of those sorts of companies. The blockchain is going to revolutionize, I think, my business for sure. It's just a matter of time. But most importantly, what I think is really significant here is going to be ag tech or agritech, and that's technology companies focused on agriculture. And that's something that touches so many different areas of technology, and Silicon Valley is just perfectly poised to have another revolution, just like it's this big. It's like an industrial revolution. It's an information revolution. I think we're poised to have a food and agriculture revolution, and I think it's starting right here in this valley. And it's because, like I said, we're within walking distance of 1/3 of all the venture capital that gets invested in this country. The biggest tech companies in the world are here. We're within 100 miles from the richest farmland in the country. It's a $45 billion a year business in California, agriculture is. And there are huge problems in food and agriculture that people realize have to be solved. I mean, huge problems. But you've probably heard this. By 2050, the world will have 10 billion people. There's not nearly enough land to feed that many people in the world right now using conventional methods. That's a big problem. It's especially a problem if you're in China, where a lot of land has been taken out of production permanently, and they have to basically grow in urban and vertical environments. So we've got a conference Friday, 2 days from now, our annual Silicon Valley Ag Tech Conference. Some of our presenters are here in the audience. Where every year we get together. It's usually about 500 people of entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, scientists, and farmers. We're one of the few. Come all together and we analyze these problems and these solutions and kind of the next big thing in ag tech.
Yeah, I totally agree. 2050, we're going to be 3 billion more, so around 10 billion, all needing energy, not fossil. Right, preferably renewable energy, needing food and water. So I agree with that. It's going to be the most important, and the water situation in California is quite critical as well.
It certainly is. Yeah. And by the way, this is California is a desert. I mean, it's not built. God didn't make California, to fuel all the hot tubs that we have here now, or all the agriculture. So this drought that we're having now, this happens from time to time, and it's going to happen again. People shouldn't be surprised by that. We should be prepared for it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Are we going to thank you? So, with that, I would like to invite a special guest as well, who is from a country down under, where I've lived for many years. So, welcome, Cameron Cross.
Thank you, Lars.
G'day.
G'day. It's going to be more of an emphasis on the g'day.
Okay, no, let's not go to the Aussie slang or Aussie language. Welcome, Cameron.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us, you've been here now for some time.
Nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years.
Yeah, nearly 2 years.
And why did you leave Australia?
To get out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, that was it.
Yeah.
So I have a background in social enterprise. The business that I'm involved in is a social enterprise. And at the time of building that in Australia, social entrepreneurialism is quite young. It's only just sort of coming on the radar. There's been some great work to increase its profile, but when you look at some of the wealth that's being driven towards social impact and social enterprise out of California, and the international presence in California, it's a whole different game.
So what made you come here?
To get exposed to that. So I like being challenged. I like being exposed to people that think differently to me, that are able to share their experiences in their communities and different socio-economic situations that influences me to stretch further in the work that I'm doing.
So tell us more specifically about the work you're doing.
Sure. So uBegin is the platform. uBegin.
uBegin.
uBegin. It all starts with you. and it's created as a call to action, where it's an online innovation platform that helps people work towards common goals. It's positioned in an international framework, and there is a backdrop of aligning with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which were recently ratified last year. If people are aware of these, there's 17 global goals that have been accepted by 193 member states around the world, and so as a backdrop of having a semblance of international agreement on the sorts of things that we can work towards, we thought that's a pretty good place to start.
If you would apply what you're doing, we're going to be 3 billion more. So 10 billion people. What kind of role will uBegin play?
Sure. There's been a lot of work that's gone into working out what's happening at a very, very grassroots level in terms of social change, social innovation, community engagement, civic innovation, and so what we're looking at is how could we create a platform that allowed that to unfold in a really swift and productive way that created outcomes that were locally relevant but able to influence other parts of the world. So uBegin as a platform allows that local innovation to unfold very, very fast, but then at the same time be connected to different parts of the world so that there's this ripple effect of exploding that innovation. So it's less about, as it progresses, it's less about what we do as a platform. It becomes more about what those local things do and how that then gets perpetuated. So we're focusing, in essence, we're holding space.
You're in Silicon Valley. It's all about tech. How much more tech do we need, and how do you see tech helping out you as an individual as well?
Excellent question. I believe in people more than tech, to a fault sometimes. But I love technology. I love the advantages that it gives us in being able to communicate and collaborate internationally or even regionally. I'm always checking in to see whether the technology that we are creating is at the expense of us going through the journey of the human experience. The moment that starts to happen, I start asking the questions.
I asked Fyodor about leadership. What's the most important activities you see for us to be really handling the growth of population in a good way?
Sure. Well, okay, so there's two questions there. One is how do we participate in that?
Yeah.
And then you edged on handling population.
Yeah.
Population is it's a big challenge, but it's interesting how it relates to how I'd answer the first question. So for me, the best thing that we can do is to work ferociously at exploring our own sense of self in context of our community and in a relationship with the environment. As we do that, I believe, and my observation is, that we naturally start to make choices from a different point of view that address these challenges. When we check in and we feel a disconnect from ourselves, like our own truth, our own sense of what's right for us, and a relationship with the community and environment, it's pretty easy to start to pick out the problems in the choices that we make. That's my answer.
Perfect. So it's important. Roger mentioned artificial intelligence. Will that play an important role?
I'm excited for what artificial intelligence can do, and you know, if we look at complex systems design and chaos theory and all these sorts of things, you know, it has its role to play. Again, in the kind of evolution of society and awareness and, you know, consciousness. There's an ebb and flow to these things. So there's a lot of fear around AI, and there's a lot of benefits around AI, and within that, I still put my faith back in people to be this kind of barometer as it goes forward. But generally, I'm pretty excited.
uBegin. Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
Lars.
Thank you very much, Cameron. So from Australia, we're going back to Silicon Valley, and invite Calvin across. Hey, Calvin.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It was great to meet you the other day.
Yeah,
at the
definitely.
event. And you're based here in
Mountain View.
Mountain View. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Calvin.
So I work at a company called EdCast, and we are basically a social learning platform for people who are trying to be lifelong learners. And we believe that the education here in the United States and around the world is broken, and we try to solve that by allowing people to collaborate with each other while they learn. So one of the biggest things that we have is we believe in micro learning, which is a very big motto that we go by, where we take bite-sized content and we drive that through our platform for people from all around the world to learn about certain topics that they're very interested in. So we try to minimize the amount of time that people take to learn about certain topics. So
Live video here and now.
say again?
Live video here and now.
Oh, live videos. So I was live streaming Fedor's speech right here, and we do a live streaming. We have a live streaming capability on our app, and what we do is we use the live stream so that people, like influencers and teachers and professors, can live stream anywhere around the world to broadcast to everywhere and everybody on their expertise and what they find interests them.
So how do you see your role in the, well, we talked about the growth of population, 3 billion more.
Definitely.
Tech development. What's the key role you can play?
So for us, we try to give people, especially people in third world countries, the ability to be able to access all the information around the world. And a lot of people like it, and people in Africa, people in Kenya, they can't access this education that we get here, that we're so blessed with in the Silicon Valley. So what we do is we host these courses so that people all around the world can take them for a fraction of the price of what they would pay at any local university here in the United States.
Tell us about, I know that you recently did a finance round.
Yeah, so we just recently got Series B. It was a quite harsh round of raising capital, but we were able to raise about $16 million from our main backers were GE Capital and Menlo Ventures and SoftBank. So they're our 3 biggest backers, and so right now we're running a big project for GE, and we're trying to funnel all their education and all their onboarding stuff into our platform. And the uniqueness with our platform is when you take an online class like Udemy, Coursera, or whichever you want to pick, they don't have that collaborative aspect of it. Is you pay for the course, you take the course, and you finish it, and you might get a certificate. So for us, what we have is we have all the students and all the teachers all collaborate within the class. So we have a forum that we allow people to start discussions, to talk about what their interests are and what they like and what they don't like, et cetera, et cetera.
So what's the opportunities for the Nordic Impact Week? We're going to be here for a week. What can we do at cost?
So I know Fedor and yourself, you guys are very interested in hosting these courses on leadership, and that's why I'm here today, because a lot of the courses that we have that we host right now are very, very similar in line with the views that you guys have, which is being able to teach people and anywhere around the world about how to become a leader and how to become an entrepreneur and how to be successful at it.
So what's the next steps for you? What are you going to do with this $70 million?
Well, right now it's all about scaling. So for us, the platform is already built. We have the app. We have it for Android. We have it for Apple iOS. And right now it's just all about scaling and being able to expand out the features that we currently have. So right now, our website is still always changing, and we're always adding features, as you probably know, and including our app. So our app is one of our biggest ventures right now. We're trying to, because everybody's on mobile these days, and so we want people to be able to consume content and curate content just right at their fingertips. So that's our goal right now. So.
I understand you can become a member and start broadcasting.
Yes, so it's using the platform is completely free. You can sign up today. It's what I always tell everybody is we're basically a Twitter for education. So people can just tweet, certain things that they find interesting, and people just comment, tweet, like it, or repost what you posted. So.
Brilliant. Thank you, Calvin, and looking forward to collaborate and
definitely
educate the world for the Nordic Impact Week. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay, I hope you have patience out there. We are doing this fireside chat marathon. There's a lot of companies in exciting technologies, so I would like to welcome Sheridan Tatsuno, co-founder for VR Sustainability. Hi Sheridan.
Hi.
How are you?
Good evening. Well, thank you for
Good
the invitation.
evening. Yeah. You've been around for a long time, a lot of experience, and you're multi-talented. Describe shortly about you.
Well, I'm one of the original Silicon Valley guys. I was here when it was still an orchard. So I've seen the rise of it from the 50s before there was anything here. I didn't jump into tech until 1983 at DataQuest in semiconductors, so I've been through several booms as the semiconductors, internet at Stanford, and then a little bit of social media, and now virtual reality. So I've kind of watched the valley grow over the last, 40, 50
I know
years.
you're an author as well.
Yeah, I've written about 4 books now. 2 books on Japan and technology when Japan was a big challenge to the U.S. And those were made for PBS and British television. And then I just wrote one that's more personal for growing up in the Valley, called In the Valley of Digital Dreams, which is really what the hidden stories that aren't told. Because I grew up in the East Valley, which is San Jose downtown, mostly minority, Mexican American, Black, Asian, with no money, poverty. And we'd always look at the West Side, the rich white people, and say, gee, it's like a different world altogether, because they had all the benefits and we had nothing. So fortunately though, I got into tech and I was able to work at Stanford and with all the big tech companies. So I have a very unusual perspective because I could see it from both sides of the track, from the very poor to the various rich people in the world in Silicon Valley. And so it provides a little perspective on what we're doing. So I really resonate with your social capital efforts. And because most of the people I grew up with don't have anything, they don't have all the luxuries and benefits of Stanford University. They have nothing. And what you're doing is valuable because most of the world, probably 90% of the world is poor. They don't have education, they don't have health, they don't have infrastructure, they have nothing. And we're in a bubble because we have it all. So I really appreciate what you're doing in SOCAT because the foundation of society, I'm an urban planner by training, is a healthy society with healthcare, infrastructure, basic education, basic opportunities. And without that, you can't build Silicon Valley. See, and I think most people think that it just came out of nowhere. No, we have a very, very strong social infrastructure here, which took 100 years. And I really think that it's important that we share that knowledge, not looking at the upper layer of technology development and business, but the underlying infrastructure upon which it sits. Because without that foundation, you cannot build a society.
So how you take all that experience and now take it into virtual reality and VR?
Yeah, well, right now I'm co-launching a company called Virtual Orison in Malmö, Sweden, and it's a mistake, and actually an accident. We are going to do a consulting project for Telia to set up an incubator, and the thing fell through. So my partner said, oh well, why don't you talk to my brother? He's kind of free right now, and he's in Malmö, so maybe you guys can come up with something. And he said, good luck. So I said, thanks. So we started talking, really nice people. Sweden is my second home. I worked as an associate dean at the Jönköping International Business School, 2008 and 9 in Jönköping and in Stockholm. And I used to do a lot of business with Stockholm, with space technology transfer, with umbilical design in Stockholm. So Sweden is very close to my heart, partly because Swedish are very much like Japanese. I'm Japanese American, I speak Japanese. And when I went to Sweden, I said, these people feel very familiar, I don't know why. And I went, bingo, they're just like Japanese. Everything very similar to Japan. So I immediately fell in love with Sweden. I feel very comfortable in Sweden. More comfortable there than here, actually, in many cases. Because there's a cultural resonance about Sweden that's so similar to Japan. I don't know if you've lived in Japan, but it's very similar. But anyway, so I'm launching a company in virtual reality, and because the founder said, what's hot in the valley? I said, VR. And he said, oh, we're launching a company in Stockholm, and it's for medical visualization with Karolinska. And we're doing several things. We're doing operating room communications, because 70% of the surgical errors are due to miscommunication in the operating room, because they don't have the data, they don't hear what's going on, because it's very noisy in the operating room. So we're working with Karolinska for VR, so they can pull up all the data on the patient, communications, so they don't make any mistakes. And that's 70% of the errors in operating rooms. So I was totally stunned by that. And then they're also working on telehealth with remote villages in northern Sweden to provide, and eventually they could provide it to Africa and other nations. They're also doing a biological visualization. Now, it's all on the Unreal gaming engine, which surprised me. So I said, oh, could you use it for other things? He goes, anything you want. So their VR developers said, what do you want to do? We started talking, and then we said, oh, maybe we could do it in Malmo. Malmo is a very international city, but it's, like Oakland, it's going through a transition because the maritime industry shut down. There's a lot of poverty there, a lot of gangs and fights, and but lots of young people. It's the fastest growing city in Sweden. It's very international, 158 nationalities. They're bringing in 24 to make it the most international, 193. But the problem is this: you have all the top research in biology and science, technology, but there aren't enough jobs. And as you know, Syrians are coming in because of the Middle East. So there's a real challenge socially to say, what can we do to create jobs in a future for all these international Swedes? And that's the big challenge. It's a quality of life issue. It's not just about making a lot of money, it's about creating a society that's international in Sweden. So we said, what could we do? So one of the things we're doing is virtual reality. Is we say, okay, we're working with this one CMP. They manage all the ports and planning in Copenhagen and Malmo area, and they said, could you develop VR for us, because we'd like to plan the new port, which is in South Copenhagen. It was about 10 or 15 miles long, so they could do multimodal visualization of trains and ships and all, and working as they get going. And then also in Malmo, they have a new industrial park there, and new incubators, so we're going to visualize that. Lund University, there's a new science park with the Max 4 accelerator plus the ESS, and they want to use the VR for visualizing a science city of the future there. Plus there's a bullet train coming in from Oslo to Malmo, and he said, could you do that? And he said, we'd love to do it. So when we're working very closely with the Swedish governments, Copenhagen, Malmo, Lund, is to suck up all the 3D data they have for the planning departments, and to be able to fly in. So hopefully by the end of this month, we're going to do a fly-in over Copenhagen, Malmo. And the best way to describe it, it's Sim City, but for real. And we're going to be looking at and planning the cities of the future. Malmo has just put out their 2070 plan out. So we're going to begin to visualize that for planning all the buildings and their housing. Copenhagen aims to be carbon neutral by 2025. It is about 30 years ahead of the US. It is actually Malmo, which is doing central heating, total recycling, is one of the world leaders, most innovative city in the world in central heating for recycling. So because these two cities are the leaders in sustainable city planning anywhere in the world, if you look at it, what we'd like to do is say, how do we train people around the world on how Copenhagen and Malmö are doing it? And so the easiest way is VR. Now, VR is not just a game. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the early adopters of VR is architecture, engineering, construction. It's an $8.5 trillion a year business. It's 10% of the global economy. And they're already using it. Nobody knows because it's top secret. It's like Apple. But I saw Sweco, and they showed me him with Google Glasses. They're planning whole regions of cities in VR. We were walking through this stuff, and he said, don't talk about it too much, but we're already doing it around the world. And I was just totally blown away. And so Sweco's using it in the Bay Area. I met a company, an architecture company, and they said, here's the new Kaiser Hospital that's coming up. It's not up yet. So I put on my Google Glasses, cardboard, and we were walking to the hospital, and you could see the avatars walking around. It's like really impressive. So the point is, architecture companies are using it, so it's not a matter of if they're using it, they're already using it. Now, the key question is this, and this is the big challenge, and I'm challenging all the Nordic nations. Sweden conceived the concept of sustainability 4 years ago. It is the world leader in sustainable cities. And as you know, in Paris we had the climate change goals, and we're going to try to limit it to 2%, because if we don't do it in the next 20 or 30 years, it's gone. We lose the earth. Sweden, the Nordics have the capability to do it, and here's why. 80% of the energy is consumed by cities, 80%. 2/3 of the carbon is emitted by cities. That means we will win or lose the carbon battle in the cities of the next 20 to 30 years. And Copenhagen and Malmö are the world leaders. That is why it's so important. It's not nice to have, but rather we're saying, wow, this is a very important opportunity, because we have the technology, we have the know-how in the Nordics. Now the question is, can we move fast enough? Because I'll be frank, the Nordic countries may end up saving the world.
So, Sheridan, what can we do in September in the Nordic Impact Week? What can we expect from this virtual reality Malmö project?
What I would like to see is, most people in the Valley don't even understand the Nordics. They've never seen sustainable cities. They don't understand what it is at all. I would like to see more Nordic cities come, show what they're doing, and say, here's the state of the art. We'd be happy to work with you, because we have all the smart technologies here and the big data and all, but we are in Silicon Valley, trust me, is not sustainable at all. We're like in the Stone Ages in sustainability. And I think if the Nordics pull together the sustainable cities with the smart cities, big data analytics, with the Silicon Valley, because you need to quantify and measure everything, then we have a chance. And this is probably one of the most, I'll be frank, one of the most historic alliances that will ever happen in human history. Think about it. You have all the data from the Valley companies, and you have the sustainability from Sweden already, and Nordics and Copenhagen, and if you put the two together and you move really fast with all the social training, if you order with the training, worldwide, and we're talking with the Mirrors for Peace, they have 6,000 cities, and they said, when you people are ready, let us know. And so we're talking about maybe 6,000 cities right off the bat, if we can get our act together. And I think that's the challenge. And I was go faster, 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 and people are just saying, oh, what is it? And so we have a lot of education and learning to do. You know, James is working on a regen village. That should be replicated worldwide, you know, in 2 years.
So that's an opportunity we have. Thank you very much. With that, thank you, Sheridan. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the challenge, and I know we're all up for it. So let's work together on it.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Sheridan. With that, we'll invite James Erdish, Region Villages. Welcome up. And I know that you wouldn't agree that the Nordics are dominating the world in sustainability.
I would agree with that, yes. I would have to agree with it because I'm here with your fireside chat. So if there's any other thing I can do.
Yeah, I know you're doing some really exciting things. You're at Stanford, and just a brief background on yourself.
Sure. I'm a serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley for 25 years. Had successful exits, mostly from gaming companies. And I've been at Stanford University as a senior technologist for about 4 years. And I'm involved in a Stanford spin-off company that is called Regen Villages. It's an ag tech integrated community development, real estate development company.
Yeah.
So we are breaking ground on our first pilot community of 100 homes this summer in Almere, Netherlands.
Yeah.
So about 25-minute train ride from Amsterdam. And but we also have a pipeline of projects to follow in the Nordics. So in Lund, in Frederiksund, in Denmark, in hopefully Oslo, not too far from Oslo,
Yeah.
and also in Germany to follow.
Yeah.
But our main goal really is global scale. We're interested in the global south, and we're interested in building these communities for the design for extreme affordability. That's our plan.
Yeah. How should you easily describe Regen Villages? What is it?
Regen Villages is a community development company. We are real estate development that builds technology into real estate development. So we're redefining the way residential real estate happens by including high-yield organic food production, water, power harvesting renewably, and waste to resource mitigation, all in the footprint of about 100 homes. So we're going neighborhood by neighborhood to redefine subdivision development around the world, which is critical for the next 2 to 3 billion people coming to the planet.
Okay, so I learned also in SOCAP in September there's neighborhood economics. So that's one strategy in your thinking.
Well, I'm really excited, of course, about breaking ground this summer in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
in Almere, and we're also going to be featured at the Venice Biennale, featured as a showcase for the Danish Architecture Pavilion.
Yeah.
Because I should say that our architects are from Copenhagen. So, but Lund is particularly interesting because there's a piece of land right next to Lund University, which is owned by the church, and we've been really excited to work with Sheridan's group as well to envision Regen Villages really right by the Lund University. And there's so much going on in that area about electric vehicles and about just changing the way people think about living and residential life.
Yeah.
So that's perfect for us as the second project in our pipeline.
If you describe it a little more, are you going to be connected to the grid, or how's it going to work?
No, the exciting idea is that we're essentially off-grid neighborhoods. So we reduce burdens on municipal governments. That is our goal.
Yeah.
And in the aggregate, the idea is that eventually we reduce burdens on national governments. There's a lot of things changing right now with job metrics. A lot of things changing right now with the way with artificial intelligence, AI, and cognitive computing, and also robotics. So we're seeing that the job metric is going to change precipitously. And with that, people are also looking at the sort of guaranteed monthly salary in some of the European countries, the Nordics, Netherlands.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the future of humanity? So if we can start to really answer the basic sort of Maslow hierarchy of people's needs, which is the shelter, food, water, and power, and give them engagement through curriculum, like especially with EdCast, I think it's a really exciting opportunity to see this peri-urban and rural development. See, I'm one of the people at Stanford who is going the opposite direction than most of the people who are going towards the big cities, okay? So what's happening is people are going to the city and they're saying the mega city is the future, right? And we're gonna have all these robots controlling the farms. And everyone's gonna live in a big tower in the city. And I grew up in Manhattan, and I can tell you, it's a wonderful place, but it's brittle. It breaks. My family was without power for 3 weeks after Hurricane Sandy. And it gets real after about day 2.5. You know, when the cupboard is empty and the fridge is empty. And so really, from my perspective, I see the peri-urban and the rural areas as the last great chance for humanity. Because in these areas, especially with broadband education and with all of the healthcare, all the things like this, with these kinds of off-grid communities, we can start to bring the people back to the rural areas, or maybe keep them there from going to the cities.
Yeah.
So this is essentially the thesis of Regen Villages. Then you look at where we're breaking ground in the Netherlands. It's really exciting because first of all, it's 8 meters below sea level. So the Dutch are really good at resiliency to start with. We've got Danish aesthetic with architecture, Stanford research in terms of resiliency, and we're marrying that together to create this platform in the Netherlands that's on beautiful farmland. We're building 100 homes on beautiful farmland, but we are going to produce more organic food, more clean water, more clean energy, and mitigate more waste than if you just left that land by itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty exciting thesis, as Roger was saying, for the future of humanity.
Anyone listening to this, what would you be looking for? You're taking off in Netherlands. You're looking for more interested partners, or?
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been talking to sovereign wealth funds for 2 years, even as we were doing our research. And there's about $3.2 trillion US that wants to move pretty rapidly from fossil fuel investments. And they don't know where to put it. There aren't enough moonshot projects out there. And so we have been engaged with these sovereign wealth funds and also with industry partners. We have a huge list of industry partners who are already on board with us. And that's the reason why we just have this momentum and we're breaking ground so quickly. So the answer is it requires an army of people, and we need people from all around the world to join us. And so we have delegations coming to campus all the time, from China, from India, from parts of Africa. I've been to Malaysia twice, just an example. I was flown by the Prime Minister to meet with the Ministers of Rural and Urban Planning in Malaysia. They have 11,000 villages that they want to retrofit or rebuild, because their people are only half a generation away from their village. So they want to start, this is one of the countries that actually seeing what I'm talking about, that they can begin to relieve the pressure from the megacities back into the rurals. So we know we can build it. The technology's there. It's based on the solar decathlon. It's based on proven technologies that are regenerative. We have some interesting IP in terms of biogenerators and in terms of algorithms that can look at and control farm systems. But overall, it's not about tech. It isn't. It's about community. It's about building neighborhoods that make sense and kind of going backwards to go forwards. And that's really the premise behind Regen Villages.
I think that sums it up perfectly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So it's a lot of companies and tech and people. So with that, I want to welcome Ville Putte as well from Vincit. Welcome. Hey Ville.
Hey Lars, because it's a fire chat, I brought you some fire candy. So it's our trademark.
Oh,
we are not a candy company, but you'll be the first one to try it.
So this is licorice or?
Sort of.
Okay.
Go ahead. You'll love it.
Okay, I'll try it later. Thank you.
You can put it around.
Okay, so tell us, what are you doing here with that?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Vincit. We are a software company. We do UI and UX as well. And yeah, we were set up 9 years and 3 days ago. Yeah, exactly. And as a company where Mondays don't suck, and that was the thing actually we wrote down. And pretty soon we realized that okay, we need not only the happy, employees, we also need happy customers. And so since then we focused on only 2 things: satisfied employees and satisfied customers. And it's taken us to, pretty far. Our turnover is now 30 million. We are making IPO this year, and also getting set up over here to Palo Alto where things happen. And yeah, I think That's more or less what we do.
But tell me about your model, doing what you like, having your own work times, no responsibilities. How can it work?
People do have responsibilities. You guys have responsibilities, but you don't need someone to tell you what to do. You'll figure out yourself. And so what we did 2 years ago, we got rid of all the managers. So okay, by law you have to have 2 managers in the company, but we are a 250 people organization with only 2 managers. And it's working well, because we tell our people to do what they would do themselves. So I mean, I like to think that they get to work in a startup without startup risks. And so it's more or less, I mean, some examples I could give, they all carry company credit card, and they are responsible for getting their tools, laptops, phones, whatever they need to be happy and work productive. And they know themselves what's the best laptop or tool or whatever they want to use. They can use their credit card for their hobbies, and I mean whatever makes them happy. And another good example is we're the first one to do in the industry. We open up the salaries. So all we have salary charts in the company, and anyone can go within the company to look colleagues' exact salary base. And that helped us to get rid of the sort of the hierarchy levels, which are normally in any organization. You have first you are a developer, then you are a senior developer, then you get to be a manager, and so on and so on. We don't have that. So instead of climbing the stairs that are effective, we enable the personal growth, and we help people to get better on what they love to do.
So it's kind of tying to what Fjodor, leadership, you have to start with your own leadership within the company.
Yeah, and so we are disrupting and transforming the leadership in our country. And so we talk to the biggest companies in the country, and it's something that we'll bring here. I know that the companies over here work 11 hours per day. I believe that there is 8 productive hours a day. You can hang out with your friends the rest 2-3 hours more, and that's fine, but they're not going to be productive. So you'll decide whether you are with your friends or family or have life. And I think that our customers, they get more, they get better results, better quality with that model. We're not changing anything.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Time is the only thing and the most valuable we have. 24 hours, we have 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for play. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it depends on how you use it.
Yeah, it depends. Tell us more about what are you doing, what the services you're doing. I mean, obviously you're disrupting the work environment.
Yeah, so we focus on medical, healthcare, and wellness. So our customers range from G Healthcare, where we work with the patient monitor development. And then we have great cool companies like YoGaia. Because if you don't have the app, you should. It's our implementation and design, and many others. But it's the healthcare, medical, and wellness, which is our focus.
And where do you see the trends are heading up? Obviously, we're going to be a lot more people. There's more awareness today, and there was discussions about this important with us as individuals as well. Where do you see the trends? Are you disrupting the market and everybody going to follow you guys?
Eventually, Yes, and there. I mean, it's. I wouldn't generalize. There will be different kinds of companies, and we just focus on what we do. I'm not saying the way we operate and organize will work in every another company. It works for us, and that's what we'll do. So far, it's been good.
Yeah. So you believe that in the world we can be totally free structures with our own leadership, obviously. That will work.
I mean, you can think about it yourself. What do you need the manager for? I mean, or any of you, if you work in a big companies, of course, I mean, if you write reports, someone needs to read them. But what if you don't have to write the reports?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you have 8 hours more.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read something the other day. Why do we need the universities? We have YouTube. All right, thank you very much.
I'm glad I'm done with my university.
Okay, I hope you have patience out there. With that, I would like to welcome a special guest as well, and that's Martin Dillers. Welcome up. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you, Lars. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to San Francisco.
Glad to be here.
Is it the first time?
It is. First time in California. I've been to CES and I've been to a few things around the States, but never really landed in the Valley, so I'm glad to be.
So how does it feel?
It's interesting. I'm bringing quite a critical mindset. I think we've done most of the crowd-funded wearables from Sweden, Scandinavia, actually generating almost 100 jobs through different technology entrepreneurs, and my firm has been the design firm for most of that. And so that has created an environment where we get pitched like once or twice a week from different hardware entrepreneurs in Stockholm. And there are a lot of Mark Zuckerbergs, and there is a lot of these guys. And to be honest, I think they're copy-pasting the wrong ideas out of here. So I think I'm really like turning the stones and talking to people. Is tech toxic? Are we like, for example, I'm having a dinner and I'm at Google and we have this do no evils, everyone's really nice there. And it's almost like I'm coming from, my grandparents came out of the war and was really Christian and like taking care of everything. Then my parents were like 60s, new age, had that belief, and like then we're coming to my generation and we don't have any beliefs. So we're looking globally for beliefs that we can hold on to, and there's Apple and Google, Is that something we're gonna like, is that a religion? So that I'm bringing that perspective. I really want to understand the culture here and see what in this culture is really something that the Swedish entrepreneurs should cherish and what should they maybe reevaluate. So I've been bringing a lot of discussions to the tables of my fellow friends who are working at these different companies like Google and Apple that I've been having dinners with the last couple of days. And it hasn't been that easy. I mean, I think these rocks aren't that turned. And I think that's why there's this little feeling in the stomach. Is it a bubble? Is it not? And everyone's like turning in their chair, giving a vague answer, because I think we're at some level we know that we are an augmented reality is the new Gutenberg press, and me as a dyslexic, my kids will learn through Minecraft and they don't have to read books in the way that I was forced to. So there's a great thing that technology is enabling, but it's not answer to all the questions. It's not the answer to the 1% and the hierarchical society of capitalism. I mean that it's not answering that to the fullest. So I think we're a little bit confused in my generation. So my experience from the Silicon Valley so far is that I was hoping to get better answers, and I don't think they're there yet.
Well, you maybe have to spend a few more days here. You flew in a couple of days ago, but this is your first sort of feeling.
Yeah, it's my first feeling. It feels like I should say something
positive as well.
Tell us about People. It's a great name you have on your company, People.
So I've been working basically when I was in design school. Actually, I have a degree in virtual reality from 14 years ago, just to mention. And then I studied graphic and visual communication, and then finally industrial design. And when I was in industrial design, one of my first physical designs came out, and it was a sunblock for the pharmacy in Sweden. And finally, my parents were like thinking, something is becoming out of all these student loans. You know, this is a physical thing we can touch. Finally, it's doing something valuable. It's, you know, stopping people from skin cancer or something. And then my aunt was watching the morning news show, the national morning news show, and she saw it like blimping by in the start. She was about to call me, and they put the product up, and they said, "This product kills ocean life." It was like, yeah, the needle dropped. It was zinc oxide in this cream, and it's bad for fertility in the ocean. So that started a new chapter for me personally, where I was like, what are we as creatives? Like, what are we designing? And to be honest, like at design school at the time, I think most people felt like the band on the Titanic. They're kind of there to play the happy music, and they know the ship is going the wrong way. But like, really, there's no way to operate differently. And that really upset me fundamentally, and that made me go into business school, because I felt that's where the decisions are made. And coming from the dyslexia background, I thought it was about writing business plans. I never was very interested in that. But it turned out that on that operating level, you can actually maneuver the ship in a better way. So I spent a lot of time looking at this now, and in the consultancy, we've had a lab trying to come up with like ways to show how we can do this more easily. And a few years ago, we crowdfunded a speaker that was fixable. Basically, it comes with an IKEA tool wrench, and you can, if something breaks, you can fix it. And yeah, we got like full pages in, you know, Monocle and Wired and Elle, and everyone thought really cool. It's actually coming into MoMA as well. But it's fate. Like, pretty much no one wants to fix their own speaker, and very few people bought the do-it-yourself kit where you could change things. So I spent the last couple of years now thinking on like, okay, how can we really make something cyclical, you know, that works from a consumer perspective rather than like a system perspective? Because I don't think we as people we're not ready to participate in a global democracy yet. It's just too complex of a system. We need to like just continue to develop where we can really interact. So I'm like, that's my role as a designer, to make something, make a choice easier. So what we've done now is basically spent a lot of resources in the consultancy, but now built a new company called People Products, and we're going to be the first cyclical consumer electronics company. So what we're doing is basically, we're doing kind of simple home products like a water kettle. It's a better water kettle, but what we're doing is not the linear model where we just sell it off to you and then we're done. We're actually monitoring usage or self-check. So if it breaks, we will tell you it broke and we'll take it back for free. But more interestingly, if you haven't used it for 4 months, we'll ping you and say you haven't used your kettle for 4 months. Do you want to sell it to your neighbor for $120? And then, if they don't buy it for $200, and then we'll take it to the neighbor for free. And we'll have a very small margin in that. That will not be how we make most of our money, but we'll build a relationship with the customer. That's more long term. So that's mostly why I'm in the Valley now, is to talk about people that make this happen on a global scale. And it's a few moving parts. But what we're seeing is really encouraging. Like in the next 4 years, we're going to triple in mobile e-commerce. At the same time as we're tenfolding in the last mile logistics of electrical vehicles delivering things to your door. So actually the carbon footprints of getting things to people's doors is decreasing, and the cost is decreasing. So this model is really like coming into rage. So it's a very exciting time to trying to achieve this, that I think it's crazy that we haven't done it so far. You know, a lot of my friends are surfers, and they're surfing in plastics. I mean, there's literally a lot of plastics in the waves these days. We're actually dumping 1 packed container of plastic per minute in the ocean. And in my lifetime, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish. So I think, like, you know, going back to like doing something that's bad for the ocean and starting on my design career, I really want to like end my design career and doing something that's positive for that.
Beautiful. So we want more fish than plastic.
That's preferable. I think. I don't know if the room agrees, but it feels like a room.
Yeah, so then it's important, as what Fiore says, what we design will design us back. Let's summarize a little bit what you
That's it? Or I don't know. What did Fiore say that summarizes?
what we design will design us back.
No, I'll probably comment on that, Lars. I
Yeah.
mean, it's too complicated. You know a little bit of the background. So basically, there is a feedback loop, and we produce these results that nobody wants, that we just talked about. Probably this room agrees that we should have more fish than plastic in the ocean. But why can't we just collaborate to make it happen, right? And that's the thing. That's we are reinforcing these structures, these cultures, and institutions that create more plastic than fish. And we lack leadership to really break through the silos and consciously create results we want. That's, I think, what Lars means.
So for me, there's two very different kind of discussions to be having. There's one discussion for me that's about like a better version of an industrial revolution, where we're talking about material flows and something that's very close to heart for an industrial designer, that like is better designed, basically. The other one is more about how do we lead societies, or how is our value system addressing these things? How are we grasping this as a society? Is there a way we can vote for this, or is there a way we can vote for this with our wallet? And I view those two things quite differently. The first, like the system as a culture, I think is what I answered in the first questions about how do I feel about the value. That's something I think. What's our operating system going forward? Like how do we become truly global? My wife's father's family is from Syria, so I personally are viewing like a human catastrophe on my watch, and I feel very limited in my ability to vote for it or engage in it, in the same sense that I've felt about sustainability for a long time. So I'm really questioning how we're building these models where we engage as citizens. So that's like one side of the coin. But us as technologists, I mean, we have the best opportunities of a lifetime to engage in building better, designing better systems. It's never been a better time. Knowledge is free, it's global to connect with great minds, and it's super encouraging, but it's easy to get lost in just technology optimism. We have to also have like an embracing way of thinking about us as people in a culture. I don't know if that summarizes your point, but these are two very interesting problems to be working on, and I'm glad to be in a room with people that seemingly tackle some aspects of these.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Martin. I think that summarizes as well that we have the biggest business opportunity. Actually, it's up to us to do something with it as well. And thank you everybody who's been here and participating today in this fireside chat. It's been a lot of really interesting people. There've been a lot of interesting technologies. And with that, saying thank you to everyone been listening out.
Did everybody get a chance? What about the Swedish-American Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, that's right.
Can we hear something from the Swedish-American
right.
Chamber of Commerce? I would like to hear something. Yes, please.
Yes.
I would very much.
Thank you. Yes.
So, hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Fireside chat. Tell us about yourself and who you represent.
Yeah, so my name is Maria, and I've been here 1.5 years, and I do some volunteer work for Swedish American Chamber of Commerce. And what we do, we work to be the best community for Swedish and also Nordic companies and people in the Silicon Valley, so they can interact and build a better opportunities for themselves. So we organize a lot of events to inspire them and so they can interact and meet people from Sweden and the Nordic countries. And we also work with business missions. That's companies in Sweden wanting to come to the Silicon Valley to get inspired or meet people. Maybe they're trying to start their company here. So we help them meet people here, and so they can go back to Sweden and know what to do.
Great. So what's you've been here for a couple of years now, and what's the typical kind of events that you are organizing? You having something really interesting next week in digitalization?
Yeah, it's a digitalization event. I don't know so much about that event because I'm not working with it, but it's about how companies, how they work with the digitalization.
Yeah.
It's a difficult word to pronounce.
Yeah, it is digitalization. Yeah.
So it will be a very interesting event. I think it's with Peter. He worked with Tesla before, and so he's hosting this event.
Yeah, so the speakers, and it was very high level.
Yeah.
Peter Carlson, former Tesla guy as well. And if you've been listening now on these fireside chats, from your perspective, what would you like to point out in all the discussions with community development, leadership? Is there any specific things that you would to tie into on the role of the chamber from you as well?
So it has maybe nothing to do with the sustainability, but you guys are so much tech companies, but we tend to work with all different kind of companies. So we don't exclude tech companies, but we work with like biotech, and has been a really good opportunities for us. We've done some events with biotech companies, connecting Sweden and some companies here, and so I'm not sure I have something to add, but so
well, you made a point. I mean, it's not just about the tech, and I think we agreed on that. It's about people.
Yeah.
And over the years, I have a tech background, and can probably see and agree with Martin in ways today that can we just stop this tech talk? I mean, it isn't just a tool. And I quote President Obama. He was in Austin a month ago at the South by Southwest festival, and he said that we're so good at tech, great at tech, and why don't we use it more for community and social innovation development? And he put the finger on that. I mean, in the end of the day, we're people and human individuals. And tech is a tool for us to have a good life. So, and I understand you're sort of planning to leave the Bay Area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We are moving back in June, actually. So, am I gonna miss the weather here? Yeah.
All right, but might be openings to come back, or are you closing that door?
No, I'm not closing that door, but maybe I would love to move to another country, in fact, to explore more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Finland.
Yeah, Finland. So,
maybe not on my top list.
So it's about Nordic Impact Week, Interest Nordic and California. What would you take with you from being here now a number of years? What's the best things? What will you take with you from here compared to Sweden and the Nordics?
Anything is possible.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Is that the secret sauce or difference from the Nordics?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody here is like, oh wow, let's go for it, and we can do that. Like in Sweden, oh, we can do that. Maybe not.
Okay, so maybe
we tend to see the problems more than the opportunities.
Okay, what's the reason behind that? If we're going to analyze the Swedish people.
But actually, I think this Nordic people, Swedish people, are more negative. That can actually be a good thing.
Yeah.
Because
Listen now, Nordics.
because we are never satisfied, so we try to improve things. So maybe it's a good thing that we are more negative. You're more positive people here in the US.
So that means we should work more together.
Combine the negative improvement with positive spirit, yeah.
And we can deliver more results together. And we will equalize that kind of positiveness and negativity, and maybe we get more results out of that.
Hope so, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. And, all the best to your trip back to Sweden.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that summarized this fireside chat. Now we're closing the broadcast. Thank you, everyone.